Hi there, Agile friends. I'll come in here just with a quick note to let you know that the Agile Online Summit 2022 is coming soon. To know more, check out bit.ly/AOS2022. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/AOS2022. Now, stick around to the end of the episode if you want to know more, but for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Success Thursday this week with Robbie Ross. Hey, Robbie, welcome back.
Pleasure to be back. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Success Thursday, of course, is when we reflect on what does it mean to be a successful Scrum Master. But before we dive into that, we also want to know, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
Oh, so I've been part of a number of Scrum teams for many years now, often, 2 or 3 teams at a time. So I've got quite an extensive backlog of retros that I've done, some successful and some not so much. What I've felt from these experiences is not to try and impose any radical retrospective formats. It's all about the openness of the conversations and the emphasis on that relentless improvement. So, however, I don't want to sit on the fence with this question. I'm going to bring up a real life example. It was one of my first retrospectives, probably within the first 6 to 12 months from memory, and one that I always like to use as a foundation for all of my retrospectives. And this was way before lockdown, so we were all in the office. We'd come off the back of a few tough sprints, and I recognised that everyone's kind of morale was quite low. The capacity to articulate any of the challenges and suggest improvements was close to empty. They needed a break from the norm and allow some headspace to become a little bit more creative in the thinking. So early on the last day, we were close to completing the sprint goal or the objectives of the sprint at that time. So effectively, the sprint was pretty much complete. So we had a little bit of capacity for the remainder of the day. So at the stand-up, I suggested that we bring the retro forward, and we take a few hours and do a bit of a retro or team event at the park. And it was a nice day, so why not? It was quite impulsive. I didn't know what we were going to do, but I did a bit of research on retrospective outdoors and came up with a few ideas. So walking down there, the excitement and the anticipation grew about what we were going to be doing. But we found a shaded area, isolated area, and we got together in a small circle. So the first round that we started by spending a couple of minutes trying to characterize the sprint into 3 words. Then with a rugby ball that I took, that we went round the circle, and each person that had the ball, they were the only ones that could talk and say those 3 words. After that, what we did was, after that initial round, we went further into detail about some of the words that were raised and kind of tried to attribute the content of the sprint and how we could build on these positive comments and minimize anything deemed that's kind of undesirable as well. So in the same circle, we then went around using the ball, asking each team member to thank the person next to them for something that they've done during the sprint. Trying to build that camaraderie across the team as well. It was a tough few sprints. That one in particular was the one towards the end, and it was tough. So I felt that we needed some appreciation as well. So we kind of got together randomly in a group, and you had to pass the ball around and thank somebody. We did do the traditional 3 questions. So we describe what went well, what didn't go well, and what we can improve on as well. And now, it was a bit of a challenge for these improvements. We were in the park and we didn't have a blackboard to write on or a whiteboard or any kind of tool. So what I decided to do was we tried to categorize the top 3 improvements that we could look at. And then I just grabbed a stick and put it over there, and that was improvement A, and then maybe a jumper over the other side, and that was improvement B, and so on. And then we voted by walking to that station, really, and that's how we voted, and that's how we decided what the next improvement item we could work on. Now, ending that retro, we used the circle again and went around with the rugby ball, how they felt that the retro went. It was very different. I was intrigued to see how the team felt about it, but there was nothing but positive feedback, really. The team were happy and open to discuss these items, but by simply changing the environment, built that camaraderie and that engagement. The headspace was cleared. We didn't have any disturbances. It made me truly understand that the environment we do the sprint retros in is absolutely essential. And it's such a major consideration when gauging what the team require. So the actual content of it was probably not too much different to what we tend to get, but it built that camaraderie, built that engagement just by simply the environment that we set the team in.
And this shows, I think, beautifully how small changes in either how we sit or where we are or what's around us can totally transform the team's attitude. You started this by saying that the willingness and the energy to talk about improvement was nearly empty. Mm-hmm. That's how you introduced the situation at the time. And then you talk about the park and how engaged they were and how happy they were to have had that type of retrospective. I think this is a beautiful example also of why Scrum Masters are so important in improving the quality of our work life. And this is a great example. So thank you for sharing that, Robbie.
No problem. Thank you. Pleasure.
So now we turn our attention to the question, right? Like, what does success mean for you as a Scrum Master, Robbie?
Yeah, so those people that have worked with me have probably heard this before, but I've always tried to consider, a Scrum engagement is similar to a game of chess. Using the Scrum guide as the rules of the game, but I'm appreciating that each game has its own individual tactics and game plan and complexities. So, I've also heard many very astute responses to this question on the podcast, and many of which that I've been really intrigued by and started to put some of the emphasis on my own work as well, particularly those relating to how the Scrum Master can oversee change, enhance those team dynamics and build those lines of communication and so on. So, I'm thankful for everybody that's gone before me on that one. But I always look to the Scrum Guide as well to see what success is deemed as. And as we know, it's to help people, teams and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. That's quite a broad statement. And as a result, I'd like to think that if you're a Scrum Master and striving towards this, then I deem that as a success. Now, of course, it's important to define what value means as early as possible, whether that's value for yourself, value for your clients, value for your teams. But no matter what stage you are as a Scrum team, it's important to maintain some form of momentum and that relentless improvement.
What do you mean by that form of momentum?
So focus on something and not to forget about it. Build something. Don't try and change the world from day one. Small steps, small iterative steps, and ensure that you get on the journey as early as possible. Now, that's not just for the feature work that you got, the user stories. That's everything that you do as a team. So by not reviewing things like a roadmap, not reviewing the tools and frameworks that you use, and not reviewing the milestone, even things like the outcome of the sprint events, even times and dates. We work with teams across the world now. Are those sprint events and times, are they suitable for everyone? What we're looking at is bringing about efficiency in the ways of working. So whether that's, we've talked about small changes previously and such the big impact that they might have. Momentum on looking at these different things and talking about them, openness. This is what I deem success. Momentum on everything. So no matter what stage of the journey you're on, whether you're a new Scrum Master or whether you're a veteran, should we say, building momentum is keen for everyone because it builds cultural changes, it builds mindset changes, it builds technological changes. Having that relentless improvement and having that momentum to do new things is such a personal thing for me, but it's also what I deem success. So not, even something outside of the sprint review, we need to create an environment where you can build the trust of the client. Do they have that buy-in or are they getting surprised at the sprint review? Can they see what they're paying for? Are they building that? If we're having miscommunication at this level, it only builds confusion and that trust being lost. Discussing with the teams about the levels of communication. Since lockdown, our levels of communication has changed. Are there too many email discussions? Are there too many chat tools?
What practices do we need now that we're all remote?
Exactly. Are there time zone differences? Do we discuss? We mentioned about the three amigos the other day, and do we discuss requirements enough, or are we trying to solutionize too early that stifles that creativity? All these factors are important to build a healthy self-organizing team that will facilitate, those challenges and successes and dealt with under those helpful circumstances. I think it's so important that we as Scrum Masters, we look at that broad statement from the Scrum Guide and look at that. And then subsequent to that, are we building momentum on the changes that we'd like to see? I've often throughout my career as well, and after speaking to many other Scrum Masters as well, we all go through some form of imposter syndrome. And it's so important to look at that and define what success is for you, define what success is for the team, utilize it, but build momentum on it and allow yourself to grow at that stage.
I really like the word momentum now that I understand better what you mean by it.
Yeah.
And it links very well with the other phrase you've been using quite often this week, which is relentless improvement.
Yes.
Which I think will be from now on my favorite alternative to continuous improvement.
Yeah.
Because for Scrum Masters to build momentum, they do need to be relentless about it.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, that shift in wording has really helped as well, is that we are relentless about improving everything that we do. Now, for me, the continuous improvement part was great. It allows that mindset that, yes, we are looking at continuous improvement, everything we do. But it seemed quite fixed, is that as long as we've got one thing for the sprint retro, we can bring it into the next.
But relentless does bring about that spirit you were describing as looking at everything constantly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Looking at everything constantly. And we are relentless on improving everything that we do.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, Robbie.
You're welcome. Thank you, Vasco.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around to know more about this year's Agile Online Summit. The summit will have 4 keynotes and 4 tracks you will not want to miss. The keynotes will touch on critical topics for us, from delivering on time to helping you to focus on sustainability. The 4 tracks are tools, so we'll focus on tools you need to excel at your job, but also your mission. We'll also have a track on sustainability, which is, of course, about people and their sustainable pace, but it's also about how do we bring sustainability to the products and the planet we inhabit. We'll have a 3rd track about happiness, talking about doing what we love and, most crucially, loving what we do. And finally, the 4th track will be live. It will be mostly hands-on sessions to help you roll up your sleeves together with the presenters. Oh, and we will also have a coaching clinic, as we usually do, organized to help you discuss and get inspired to solve the hardest challenges you face at work. This year, we'll have a special emphasis on interaction with your peers, so get your ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/AOS 2022. As always, we have free tickets for anyone that wants to attend live, and the VIP tickets for those of you who want to keep the videos forever. So check them out at bit.ly/AOS 2022. I'll see you on the conference floor. Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.